Hello, this movie is about cutting wooden gears with a CNC machine. We're going to cut some wooden gears that are used in a planetary orrery. The pattern for these gears is already loaded into the machine in the form of G code, and you can see the gears on the screen here in Mach 3. Mach 3 is a program that talks to the stepper motors on the CNC table and sends the signals to it in order to move the router back and forth. The router is already positioned on a piece of plywood here that already has two gears cut in it, and the router itself is positioned over the 0, 0 or origin of the two new gears that we're going to cut. Um, while this video is being made, I need to hold the camera as well as the vacuum shop vac and do the narration. So the camera work's going to be a little clumsy, but we'll get started here. Let me turn it on. And that started up the motor. And let me grab the shop vac. Okay. And there you can see that the bit has been lowered into the piece and it's starting to cut out its first part. The material is 1/2 inch Baltic birch plywood, and it's a 1/2 inch deep, but the router bit is only 1/8 of an inch wide, so you have to be very careful that you don't snap the bit by being too aggressive in how fast you cut it. So it only is cutting off about 1/10 of an inch per pass, um, and then makes multiple passes. So that's the first piece. The reason that piece, the center of that piece didn't go flying off is that there are holding tabs that hold it in place, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But as you can see, it's a very fluid motion that the router bit has, and the vacuum is doing a pretty good job of pulling in most of the swarf or the sawdust that is kicked out. There it's finished out two pieces. These are the internal parts of the gear. And again, you can see that there's one pass, and now it's coming around for the second pass, and then it just lowered again for the third pass, and now it lowered it one more time for the fourth pass. And during this path, it's actually hesitating at a couple of places to create those holding tabs that I was talking about. Okay, those are the internal pieces of the first gear. Now we'll move over to cut the internal pieces of the second gear. These two gears represent, together, they represent the motion of the planet Earth on the orrery, and that is because, or the planet Mars, excuse me, on the planet orrery, and that's because the ratio of the number of teeth between the two gear is what determines the motion relative to the rest of the planets. So the number of teeth is important, and the precision of the teeth are as well. Okay, there we're just about ready to finish cutting the internal pieces of the second gear, and now I'll swing over and we'll begin cutting the outside or the actual teeth of the gear. You can see it's a very fluid motion back and forth. We're just taking off about just a little over 1/10 of an inch on this pass, and it's moving back and forth to form the teeth. As you can see, I've got a little bit of tear out. That is the edge that's formed has some of the fibers of the plywood are torn, but a little bit of sandpaper, and that'll get cleaned right up and have a nice smooth edge on it. I'm going to try using some different bits maybe to minimize that a little bit in the future. Okay, there we're just about to finish up the last pass here on the first gear. And as soon as that gets done, we'll go over and cut out the teeth of the second gear. Right about there. And it moved over, and we'll begin doing the same thing. It makes, I think, a total of 5 passes. And also on this piece, there are some holding tabs on a couple of the teeth to hold it in place while it's cutting. So then when this is done, I'll take a knife and cut out each piece individually. The narration is being dubbed over this because the router plus the vacuum cleaner and the computer, all that together, is actually pretty loud. So this is just being dubbed, so you don't have to listen to the scream of the the router. But in a second here, we'll jump ahead to finish up the final pass. But I just love to watch the thing run. It's such a nice fluid motion. All right, there we jumped ahead, and we're just about to finish up the final pass of this. The final pass has so little being cut that you don't really need the vacuum at this point. There's the Z-axis, which moves the router up and down. Over here are the drive screws for the X-axis. You can see it's turning in order to affect that, and there's the Y-axis that moves back and forth in order to affect the movement of the router in this particular pattern. But it sure beats cutting these out by hand, because all that's left when this is finished is to do a little bit of sanding, and these will be ready to be used. Okay, there it's finished up. So thanks for watching, and that's how I cut planetary orrery gears on the CNC machine.